Welcome back to Taking the Fear Out of Canvas. Today we are on part 11, and this is going to cover class analytics and how you can take a look at how students are using your class, what they're looking at, how much time they're spending in your class, etc. So right now, when collecting data becomes maybe more important than ever, there's some tools in Canvas that will help you collect some of that data. So to start off with, thank you to Karen Rose, who has let me act as her so that we can come and take a look at one of her classes, and that way you can see some real data as opposed to my fake class that has one student in it. So let's take a quick peek. Before we start jumping into the analytics, I do want to share with you this course that Karen has created. So this is a module, a unit on The Great Gatsby, and you can see she has set it up. This, like I say, this is the module. So she set it up with, here's some resource materials for students, and so they can take a look at the resource materials, a pre-reading assignment, and then during reading activities, here's some questions that go along with chapter 1. And then she is going to have a video here where she talks about chapter 1 and poses some questions to students, etc. And so I just wanted to share with you what a module that is in place and working with students right now, what that looks like. So this is, again, behind the scenes in the module view. Okay, but our real goal today is to take a look at analytics. So on your sidebar, you'll notice that there's a tab here. It's called New Analytics. Also in your class navigation bar, there is also a tab over here, New Analytics. These are not available for students. Students will not see these, and you don't have to worry about changing anything. It's just not available to them. This is for your purpose only. When you click on the New Analytics tab, this will bring up for you some information that you might find useful in terms of amount of time, grades, etc. for your class. So it will give you the current course grade. It talks to you about, you can select if you want to have specific assignments, if you want to check on a certain student, specific sections, etc. You can add all that in here. There's a button so you can message students who maybe their grades are dropped low, etc. You can download this. There's some other options here in the menu. We aren't going to get into any of that, but if you really like exploring data, you're going to want to check out those features. Across the top, this is where the different icons are represented. So you'll see this data down below. And so this is so that you know what you're looking at. If you don't want to look at quizzes, you only want to look at assignments, you can pull that out. If you want to look at both quizzes and assignments, you can add that back in. If you have discussions as part of your class, there will also be a discussions up here, and that's the little quote box, and that will appear here as the icon. So depending on what kind of assignments and whatever you have in your class, it will populate across the top here for you to be able to look at. So you can take a peek. If you just kind of scroll over the icon at the bottom, then it will tell you what that assignment was. So this is a whole class, and so obviously she hasn't posted this yet, so it's not showing up. But then you can take a look over here and you can see a graph of the data in terms of where your students are in general with the grading of these assignments. Okay, so that's one view. You can take a look at weekly online activity of your students. And this I find to be pretty helpful. So as you look through here, you're going to notice this is by week. And so all the different weeks, you can see where students were and take a look at that data. Down below, they have resources. So here you have individual. If you want to take a look at individual assignments, you can see how many students completed that work. You can see this, I really like this, how many times were the pages viewed in order to complete that assignment. So just some data that you can take a look at that you might want to use or find helpful when you're making reports to your building administrator about the type of work students are doing in your class. Okay, I'm not going to click on students. I'll do that for you in my class. So let's go ahead. I'm going to stop acting here. And let's head over to my class with one student. And you'll be able to see with one student what the student view looks like. So if I'm interested in getting data on just a particular student, On that little tab, I'm going to click on Students, and this will bring up a list of my students for me. I only have my fake students in here, but you can see the data. So it talks about percentage of on-time assignments. You can see when the page was last viewed, etc. So there's just some good information here. You can click on that student's name and it will bring up for you some graphs. So you can also see that in graph format, that data. So again, you can go by weekly assignment, and this is for individual students. You can also look at communication. If you're communicating with students via your class, it will give you the date and it will talk about how many messages were sent, etc. So again, just a place where you can get some data about how students are using your class. So that is the new analytics tab. Let's go back home really quick. That's the new analytics tab, and it's on the sidebar. It's also in your class navigation bar. There's also another way that you can track how much time that students are spending in your class. So if you head over to your People tab, this will open up who all is in your class, and you will notice that there's some information here in terms of the last activity time, when they were last in, and how much total time that they have spent in your classroom. Now, you have to take this with a little grain of salt, because they could open this up and walk away, and then it would still kind of keep them in the system as having time in here. So, but it kind of gives you a general idea, I think, of how much time that this person has spent in your class, if you're looking for that information as well. So that was just some analytics and different things that I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I would like for you to go locate the analytics tabs and take a look and see what's happening. Again, remember, you need to have your course published in order for this tool to be available to you. So, so make sure you have that published, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. Welcome back. Okay, so the last 2 days, we haven't had an assignment that has gone along with this class, but today's going to be a little bit bigger of an assignment to cover the last two. So in your Google document that you're running for this class, if you would please put parts 9, 10, and 11 together, you know, number 9, 10, 11, whatever. And what I would like for you today is, I want you to stop and think for a minute about students and screen time. So when all this learning is happening online, as I've been working from home and sitting in front of my computer screen so many hours a day, it's exhausting. And sometimes you just need to take a break, but sometimes you forget to do that. And so it might be helpful to think about, how can we help our students take a break? And we're going to talk about how we can take the concept of music and we can add that into being able to help our students take a break. So somewhere maybe in your schedule, if you have different icons, things like that, maybe you have an icon that has a break, or maybe you build it into an assignment somewhere, or maybe just part of your assignment is adding some music into what you're doing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I have opened up a YouTube here, and you can find all sorts of take a break videos. When I taught middle school, I used to be in the middle of teaching, and I'm very familiar with Brain Rules. If you've never read that book, it's a great book to read, by the way. Brain Rules just talks about how long kids can really listen, and then they need to take a break and do something, even if it's 2 minutes, to get up, do something, come back, and then you can have their attention again for another few minutes. So I used to be in the middle of my class and monitoring my class, and I would have videos or different things on cue so that we could stop, take a break. And there's a great one out there. I should have pulled it up, but it was just, you just get up and there's this office crew and they start one thing at a time. And pretty soon you're getting up and you're moving, and it lasts about a minute and a half. And then at the end, they sit back down at their desk and they're back to working again. So I had my students trained, when these crazy little videos would come on, they would start doing whatever the video was doing. And then when it was done, we were back in our seats and we were quiet again. But it gave them a little bit of a break. It got the blood flowing again, and then they could focus and concentrate. I used to teach science. Well, I'll get to that in just a minute. So here's a Zumba Kids, and this one, it would be really easy, quick 2 minutes. So how can you take this link and link it somewhere in your students' assignments so when they're at home, they stop, they take a break, and they practice what that means to take a break when you're in the middle of learning. Even if it's for 2 minutes, get up, exercise, and then come back to your work. So this might be for elementary. Let me show you, like I was mentioning earlier, when I used to teach science, I would do all sorts of things. I love Mr. Parr. Mr. Parr has taken popular music and he has changed these popular music songs into science songs. So I used to play these for my students all the time. They would, right in the middle of class.
Grammarly does more than catch errors.
Sorry.
With Grammarly, you can find really good.
Anyway, you get the idea. So this might be a way for secondary that you could pop music into the learning. Go out to YouTube. There you can find anything in YouTube, and maybe just adding some excitement by having some music going along with some content. And again, if you can get kids up and moving, that would be really great. My students learned a lot of the periodic table from listening to one of these periodic table songs on here, and they were up moving at the same time. And so they would hear it, they would see it, and they were moving. And as they're moving, then that movement along with seeing and hearing, great learning is taking place. So that's my challenge for you for your assignment today. That's going to be for days 9, 10, and 11. If you would go out to YouTube and just think about how can I do something with the work I'm sending home to my students, so I'm getting them up and moving, or I'm helping them learn through a different mode, through music, through movement. How can I incorporate that into the work that I'm giving them to do? That's your challenge. So on that document, the Google Doc for our class, if you would find at least 3 YouTube video links and add those into the document, and then just one sentence underneath each about how you could use that with your students as they're learning at home. All right, and then really think further when they're back in the classroom. How can you use these when they're back in the classroom as well? So I hope you have fun. It's really engrossing when you get out there and find the really great things and great learning that can happen through music and movement. All right, so I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for video number 12.